Yeah, very good afternoon, dear students. Today we are going to talk about the structural violence. I think you can hear me well. Wait a minute. I'm going to share my screen. Can you see the screen now?
Yes, sir, we can see it.
Okay. The topic is structural violence. So we know about violence. It is very common theme in Asian context. So many of us know about that, but there are different new meanings coming to exist. One of them is structural violence. We will see what does it mean, right? So read the bullets first. Structural violence is very closely linked to social injustice. I think I have sent these slides to you all, Sinhala and English medium students. Have you received it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then the structural violence is a form of violence that is very closely linked to the social injustice, right? That's the first bullet. So then it affects people differently. In various social structures, it may harm people by preventing them from meeting their basic needs. So these are the bullets in our first slides. So we know the concept of injustice, especially when it comes to know as social injustice, right? So structural violence is basically connected or interrelated with this concept, the social injustice, but it affects people differently. It means uh, in different countries, for example, India, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka, uh, the structural violence is there, but it depends upon the context, right? Uh, Based on our experience, our own culture, on our traditions, and also our own political uh, structures, traditions, practices, and habits as well. Political habits, we can say political behavior, right? Because the level of development, level of literacy, level of constitutional literacy, the level of uh, religious literacy is depend upon contest to contest. So within the one country, those contests might be different, right? For example, upper middle class, they may feel structural violence differently than the lower middle class or lower class in rural or urban area. So I will explain with examples, right? Uh, in some countries, especially in Bangladesh, uh, according to economic indicators, they are uh, far above than ours, right? But furnace is there, especially in Dhaka, the Dhaka city. So some people sometimes they're climbing 10, 5, 6, for 5, they're climbing 5 to 6 stores, yeah, 5 to 6 stores building to to take something, to steal something, to take illegally, to take something illegally. right? I mean, they are endangering their lives to take something and climbing that type of walls up to 5 to 6, 7 stories building. They have their own equipments to do that. The poverty level is that much of high in that context, right? So then structural violence might be different in different context, right? We can say in various social structures there are different social structures. It may harm people by preventing them. As human beings, we need our basic requirements. We need to have basic needs. What are our basic needs? Yeah, then the food, shelter, clothes, then then education, health, dignity, right? Our dignity. Uh, these things are our basic needs. If there is something which is entitled in our structures and it is ready to prevent us from our basic needs, then it can be considered as structural violence. It can be considered as structural violence, right? Without having our basic needs, we cannot survive. Therefore, we need to have our basic needs. But if someone is there or something is there to prevent us to have basic needs, then that is called structural violence. We will explain with examples in our future slides. However, as are many other terms in peace studies, this term structural violence was personally introduced by Professor Johann Galtung in his article in 1969. He wrote about violence, peace, and peace research. In his article, he introduced this concept about violence, structural violence. Violence is there. Where is it? It is in our structures. It is in our structures. Then, to know about this concept, we should have basic idea about the structure. What are the structures? What type of structures we are having? What type of structures of ours are disturbing us to have basic needs? According to Galton, structural violence is an avoidable impairment of fundamental human needs. Avoidable impairment of fundamental human needs. So that's his definition about structural violence. It refers to a form of violence where some social structure, social institution, they may harm people by preventing them from meeting their basic needs, as we discussed before. Right? Example for structural violence. It is called, one of them is adultism. Adultism. What is it? Adultism. Adultism is defined as, or can be defined as, prejudice and accompanying systematic discrimination against young people. prejudice and accompanying systematic discrimination against young people. You know what I mean? Prejudice and accompanying systematic discrimination against prestigious. In some of our universities, we are having this type of system under the name of so-called subculture, right? Then it's called ragging or bullying. Actually, English term is bullying. Behaviors and attitudes based on the assumptions that adults are better than younger people, seniors are better than the prestigious, and entitled to act upon young people without agreement, without having their consent, without having their means, without having consent from the prestigious. The seniors, they thought that, or they think that we are entitled to behave like this. We have sole authority to behave these things, behave this way. We have sole authority on the first years to guide them. We have sole authority on the first years to correct them. Right? This type of prejudices are aligned with their mindset. And addiction to the attitudes, ideas, beliefs, and actions of adults. Then after the youngest, what they are doing, they are compelled to follow rules, regulations, practices, behaviors, and attitudes of the seniors because they are utmost correct. According to seniors, their beliefs, perceptions, behaviors, attitudes are ultimately correct. Therefore, the juniors, the youngest, they should follow them. Then what is happening to youngest? The youngest started to follow their seniors. Then they have an addiction to the attitudes, ideas, beliefs, and actions of the adults. It means seniors. In our system, we are having this type of practices under the name of subculture, so-called subculture, right? So subculture is structure. Culture is there. Culture is also the structure. Subculture is also another structure as a part of main culture. Subculture is the part of main culture. So main culture is the structure. Then after subculture becomes a structure. Structure is there on the name of structure, subculture, or so-called upasanskritya. So then there are many attitudes, prejudices, behaviors, certain practices are there. They are established there to prevent youngers, juniors to have their basic needs. They cannot go to the washroom as they wish, as they want. They cannot go to canteen according to their view, right? They cannot wear what they want. They cannot speak how they want. If they like to speak in English, sometimes it is difficult. It cannot because it is prohibited or limited by the seniors. Recently, some juniors, especially girls, they cannot wear what they want. That's violation of basic human needs as well as basic human rights and fundamental rights. This type of things are having our structures. I think now you can get clear idea about this structural violence. Then that is another one. Class discrimination. We know in our society, each and every society, there are different structures, different layers, the different stratifications. So on the basis of class, caste, or race, sometimes most basically, class factor is there in each and every society. Social class refers to the grouping of individuals in a hierarchy based on wealth, income, education, occupation, and social network. It is prejudice or discrimination on the basis of class, on the basis of social class. It includes individual attitudes, behaviors, systems of policies, and practices that they are set up to benefit the upper class at the expense of the lower class. You can see the upper class is depend upon the lower class, right? Because working people are there at the lower level. The blue collar, they are having blue collar jobs. It means dirty colors they are having. But white collar jobs, people, those who are having white collar jobs, they are in upper classes, right? By sitting over there, they would like to exploit lower class people. They would like to do harm to the lower caste people. They don't like to mix with lower class people, right? So that's another form of structural violence. In this case, violence is there in class structures, upper class, middle class, and lower class, right? But the thing is that the structural violence, it does not show physical violence. What I mean, structural violence does not show the flow of blood, no bombing, no kidnapping, no killing, right? But structural violence will seriously lead to the establishment of direct violence. Structural violence, if there's structural violence, those violence will lead to direct violence, quarrel or fighting with each other, kidnapping, stabbing, and then also killing each other, war, genocide, ethnic cleansing, all right, religious violence, hate crimes. Right? There are many, but structural violence will lead to that up to that level because structural violence will create the context as we discussed before the last session. I think you can remember about the ABC triangle, right? Or complete triangle. A, B, C. Attitudes, behavior in left hand side, then right hand side, contradiction, contest, contradiction or contest. Attitudes, left hand side, down, then at the top, behavior, right hand side on the top, on the bottom. It's called contest or uh, contradiction, right? So that contest is created by the structural violence. Structural violence is there, the on the bottom right hand side. Structural violence is there. If there is a structural violence, it is very sure, definitely, direct violence will come. Direct violence will appear. If there is direct violence, it's dead sure it was established, was created by the structural violence. Therefore, there's interdependence between direct violence and structural violence. Structural violence and direct violence, right? So if you see someone is crying, think about a small child, he or she is crying. Small boy, while he's going to the school, he's crying. So then if you stop your journey and started to investigate about the reasons behind his crying, then you can find that there are some reasons. Those reasons are based on structural violence. Very simply, I can say it, right? If there's a war, that's called structural violence or direct actions. Sorry, that is direct violence. If we closely study the war situation, the history, and the root causes, then obviously we can find there's structural violence. There's structural violence. That's why we can see direct violence. Without the structural violence, we cannot see the direct violence. Look at this one, sexism, right? I think you may all have this type of experience. This is common in our society, especially in Asian context. Sexism is prejudice or discrimination based on a person's sex or gender. Right? Look at about this picture. You have, I think, now you have slides. 3 boys are there, gentlemen are there. 1 girl is there. All the gentlemen, they are focusing on that particular girl, right? They are in different positions. They are having different looks, right? But I feel that they came for interview or to meet someone. They are they are equal in their positions. There's no boss or junior or seniors. They are in equal level. But what the things we can see, obviously, their sex, 3 gentlemen and 1 woman. Gentlemen are in different positions, just focusing on the girl having sexist look, right? Then it cannot tolerate by the girl. Therefore, we can see she's been shy and she's sitting there with uneasy position, right? Male members, they well established, they are well seated, but the girl, she's not well seated. She's uncomfortable because of their sexist look. In our society, especially in Asian society, we can have this type of experience each and everywhere. While we are traveling on the road, while we are traveling inside on the bus or a train, we can have this type of experience, right? If a girl or woman is there on the seat in one corner, then definitely there are many other seats, full seats are available, but most of the gentlemen, they are not actual gentlemen. They just went there and just sitting over there with that remaining part of the lady seat, right? So to I would like to share my experience about this with you. When I was in Nepal, that is a very small country in Asian context, but they are having good policies in some cases, right? So there's a private bus system. Actually, there's no government buses. All the bus system, transportation system, uh, is privatized. So inside the bus, there are certain seats, one or two seats actually, big seats, longer seats. They are purely allocated for women and girls. The male members of that bus, male members, those who are in that bus, cannot sit that seat because it is allocated for women and girls. Though the male member stand and without having seat, he has to stand, but the lady's seat is there, it is empty. He cannot sit over there because that is lady's seat, right? I think in future, in Sri Lankan context, we also we would have to follow this type of rules. Actually, recently, our, our government tried to do try to follow that type of policy regarding our railway system. They named a few boxes of the train as ladies' boxes. Then the male members or boys, they cannot enter that ladies' box, right? Uh, ladies' cabin. But however, later on, the male and female members in our society, while they're going and coming to office as a mixed group, because they're having their own seats, they are having their own cabin in their train, right? The others, I mean, generally outsiders like us, we cannot enter to the train and we cannot sit on the seat because they are allocated and they have their own license for those seats and cabins. Then the government policy has to fly away. So however, sexism is there in our society. Sexism can affect anyone, but it is primarily affect women and girls. It has been linked to stereotype and gender roles. It may include the belief that one sex or gender is intrinsically superior to another. Extreme sexism may foster sexual harassment, rape, and other forms of sexual violence like domestic violence and others, or spouse rape and other cases, right? Then sexism and gender, you can see there are big men while they're going to office or coming back, small woman is there, she's there without doing anything, but she's doing many things in her domestic uh, household and also in society, but they are not counted by our counting system, which is formulated by the uh, especially male members in our society. Discrimination towards people based on their gender or sex differences, right? So then she's been discriminated by the male members of our society. Her value, her labor, her cost, they are not counted. Then the capacities, capabilities of women are not encouraged by our society or the system. Gender discrimination is especially defined in terms of workplace inequality. It may arise from social or cultural customs and norms. Sometimes they may try to do certain work, then society members may say, oh, you cannot do that, you cannot do this because this is not suitable for girl, this is not suitable for women, this is for men's work, this is suitable for men or gentlemen, you cannot do this, you cannot follow this, you cannot behave this, you cannot laugh, you cannot do certain things, you have to be like this, you have to stay in home, right? Likewise, our societal members, they may compel to the female members of our society and they prevent from doing a productive work, but they are confined to reproductive works by our society. So then there are highly interdependent, as I mentioned, including family violence, gender violence, hate crimes, racial violence, police violence, like Black Lives Matters case, right? You can see how the US police officers in daytime killed that Black American gentleman. State violence, state terrorism, war, genocide, ethnic cleansing, there are many. Right? Then they may cause to create direct violence on the basis of structural violence. Right? I think you can understand what I mean by the term of structural violence. Structural violence is there at the ABC triangle or complete triangle at the corner of contest or contradiction, right? It's called contest. Then it will lead to attitudes and also behavior. This is very special to understand the conflict and to solve the conflict. If you find clear and exact facts of the contest which is led to conflict, then it is easy to address the root causes of conflict. Then it is easy to solve the problem or solve the conflict because you know the all story which is behind the behavioral part, right? So behavioral part, you may practice it while you are sitting in your home, while you are sitting in your community, while you are entering into the university after post-COVID-19 situation. There are many conflicts, right? In our room, hostel room, there may be a conflict. In our family, with our sisters and brothers, we may have a conflict. In our society, we will have conflict with our neighbors, with sometimes with our friends, right? Communal violence, religious violence. If we know the real situation behind the scenario, then it is very easy to address the root causes of the conflict and solve the conflict, right? If you have any question, now you can ask. Lakshmi? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Is it clear? Aruni?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
Lakshmi.
sir.
Can you apply this concept in particular conflict? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Can you do that?
Uh, so just now,
No, later on, please write a one paper. There's not a, I mean, marks calculation exam. I just want to check about your understanding, right? Just write about what's called structural violence behind the conflict. That's the topic. Then select one conflict. You have to first describe what is the conflict. Not I mean, not the theoretical part, not as a theory, right? You have to describe about what the conflicted situation you are having or you have seen, right? It may be your friend's experience or maybe in your societal experience. Please select small conflict, right? Not like you, I mean, India-Pakistan conflict or Indo-China conflict, not like that, right? Please take one example from our society, or maybe our community, maybe our university, maybe our home, small conflict, smallest one, right? Within one paper, one side. First, you have to describe what is the conflict, how it is been seen by you, right? And all these things you can write. Then after your understanding about what type of structural violence are there, then you can write it and email it to me. Aruni, clear? Aruni, Aruni, you can use chat box to reply. Aruni, yeah. If you want, can you hear me well? Do you know how to use chat box? So if your internet connection is not stable, use chat box to send the message, or you can use a common WhatsApp group to send the message, right? I will upload all these videos to YouTube, then I will send the links, then you can watch them later. Uh, then after I will drop all these materials, the slides and other materials to LMS. Then you can take it, you can download it from LMS, right? Any other things from your side, Lakshmi? Do you have clear idea about our exercise?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you want to check your understanding level. Yes, any questions, clarifications from your side?
Sir, could you please again explain about that avoidable impairment that in previous
Ah,
slide
yes,
you
yes, 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 yes.
that
It
Galton's
means, yeah,
definition?
it means something we can have. They are avoidable. Uh, they cannot avoid, right? They are available. They are available. But by the structural violence, help to us, structural violence will cause to us not to have that type of needs. For example, uh, in our society, right, as girls, you are eligible, you are entitled, you are having fundamental rights. It is guaranteed by our constitution to go and come anywhere as you wish, anytime, right? Anytime you can go and come uh, inside the Sri Lanka, or you can, if you wish, you can go to outside the Sri Lanka and come back. That right is guaranteed by the third chapter of our constitution, right? As fundamental rights, you are entitled, you are free, you can walk, you can drive, right? You can run, right? You are purely entitled. You are capable enough to do that, right? That's clear. But because of the concept, as we discussed, that is called sexism, right? Sexism. You are preventing, you are prevented by the society not to work any anytime, not to work, not to work as you wish, not to wear as you wish. That is called available human needs. If someone or something is there, to avoid it, to cut it, to stop it, that is called structural violence. Because of sexism, you cannot work, you cannot go and come at the evening or late night, right? Because we are having fear. Our society is not that much of, I mean, certified one. I mean, not only Sri Lanka, in the Asian context, is something like this. Have you heard about the case in India, the medical student case, the case of Nirbhaya, right? That's one thing. So think about our bullying system. We are free to work, free to have education, but can we do as precious? Foods are there in canteen. Can we go and pay money and take them in accordance with our mind as prestigious? They are controlled by the seniors. That's called ragging. These things are available, right? But something is there, or some institution is there to avoid them. That's what Professor Johan Galton means structural violence. Another example, I will take big example, right? Think about Tamil people, those who are in northern and eastern part of Sri Lanka, Tamil speaking people, right? They are in Vellavat area, they are in other, districts, but mainly their density is very high in eastern and northern and eastern parts of the country. And they are Tamil speaking people. Some of them can have, some of them can speak Sinhala and English, but majority of them cannot speak and understand or write Sinhala and English. So, sometimes they can do it in English, but they cannot speak, they cannot write, they cannot understand whether something written in Sinhala language, right? If government or any other institution, maybe private, send a letter to them in written in Sinhala language, what will be happen when they request their basic certificate? Then the government or other institution, if they issue that certificate in Sinhala language and hand over it to the Tamil speaking people, then what will be happen? Their basic need to understand their certificate, to receive their certificate in their own language, to receive a letter or government letter in their own language or national language, right? But they are prevented by the government or government offices or any other institution to do so. Then that is called structural violence. That is called structural violence. In some countries, which is caste system is very high, there are certain schools, there are certain universities, right? The so-called lower caste people, so-called scheduled class people, they cannot enter to that particular school or college or the university because of their caste. Because of their caste, they, according to Constitution, according to Human Rights Declaration, UDHR, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, they are entitled, they are born free, they can act free, they can work free, they are entitled to have those kind of things, to better education and others. But because of the society system, so-called subcultural system, they help to prevent them from prevent them to enter to that type of institution or universities or colleges. So then it becomes a structural violence. Not only prevent, sometimes the so-called high caste people, they will come and kill that particular lower caste people or student, right? At the time of apartheid, right? At the time of apartheid, the students, those who are having black skin, they cannot enter particular schools because they are established there for white students. They cannot work inside the bus if there's a white people, white man, the what's called black skin people, those who are having dark in their skin color, they have to stand up and they have to offer their seat for the people, those who have in white skin in color. That's the type of systems we had in our past. Not only past, even this year, right? In March, first, I mean, uh, in March or February, you all aware about that George Floyd's case in USA. In daytime, the policeman, white policeman, captured the George Floyd and killed him very brutally. That's called structural violence. He's entitled to have a free life. What he said at the end of his life, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Then I can't breathe. The white policemen, they didn't hear. Though they heard about that, they didn't care about that. As a result of that, that innocent man was passed away, was killed by the structural violence. Right? We are having, according to Universal Declaration of Human Rights, each and every citizens are born free and they are having dignity, human rights, freedom, equity. But there are there are evil system. Always they are preventing people having their basic needs. Then those systems can be called as systems which are producing structural violence. Lakni, clear?
Yes, sir. It's clear for me now.
Yes. Think about Sri Lankan, 1970 university standardization policy. Read about it. It is said that because of university in the standardization policy, many Tamil students, though they are having good marks, they couldn't enter the university system, our university system. Because of that, they had frustration, and that was the another reason to go for direct violence. It has been recorded and it has been written by the scholars and researchers, right? If you talk about large scale of conflict rather than a baby crying and others, right? But your exercise is confined to write about small example you're having, right? Any other things? Now I'm going to stop today. Anything from your side?
Sir, again, could you repeat that activity, please? Because Aruni didn't hear it, sir.
Yes. Take a A4 paper, right? Then write the top example for structural violence. Then after, start it by writing about a small scale conflict. It may be in your home, maybe among the friends, right? Very smallest one. Then after second para, you can write about structures, or according to your understanding, you can explain, you can analyze what are the structures which were caused to help to create that type of complete violence, direct violence. Is it clear now?
Yes, sir.
For Aruni?
Yes.
Okay, write it and email, right? Then I can check your understanding level. So then, thank you very much. Any other things from your side? Anything? Shall I stop from here?
Okay, sir.
Thank you for everyone.